You said it. I said it. We knew that these type of tactics would take place. We knew this, y'all. Right? So, in this video, witnesses dropped out of UFO hearings after intimidation from the Defense Department, allegedly. Dirty. They are dirty. They playing dirty, y'all. So we're going to get into this video, man. If you're new, you know what to do. Subscribe to the family. Let's go.
3 witnesses scheduled to testify at last week's UFO hearing dropped out at the last minute after receiving calls from the Pentagon. That's according to Congressman Tim Burchett. Here he is on News Nation last night.
You thought there was going to be about half a dozen witnesses, so 6 witnesses. We ended up seeing the 3 witnesses. Was there a plan to have more?
Absolutely. And we had one tell us that he'd received a call from, I guess, maybe the Pentagon, and he or she decided that maybe it wasn't best that they were on there. We had somebody who was an affiliation with NASA, and NASA will say, well, they didn't work for NASA. This is news to us, but it was one of their quasi something, I don't know. But anyway, and they they backed out at the end. And then we had one more, I think, that backed out. And, you know, we just had so many roadblocks from even the press conference. You know, we were going to do a press conference to talk about this, myself and 3 others. And a reporter, actually, one of your colleagues, put his microphone down. And I was leaving the Republican conference and said, hey, you're having this press conference, right? And I said, yeah, it's tomorrow, I think, or whenever. And he said, well, you know, they put you in a room that's under construction, and it is tiny. I said, he said, this is a big deal. You need to be in the main room. And I was like, what the heck's going on?
Now, if there were double...
Bro, they pulling out all the little dirty tricks and things that they need to do, man. Why? Because we on to something, y'all. We on to something. So we should expect things and more of this to happen and take place.
Double the number of witnesses that were supposed to testify who dropped out because of government intimidation. That's obviously hugely significant and a big deal. I have some questions, however. One, because we were reporting days before the testimony that there were going to be 3, and eventually the names of those 3 came out. We knew for a while that there were going to be 3, and then the names of those 3 came out. If it was the case prior to that there were more that were being intimidated, it's curious why that wasn't a conversation prior to the hearing in a way that might have pressured the government to lay off and make them look bad. Secondly,
and I don't think it came up at the hearing. That itself could have come up at the hearing, honestly.
Exactly. Secondly, if these people were folks who were willing to testify, but for being pressured out of it by the government, they've gone from being willing to testify in full to not even being willing to have their names known as prospective witnesses at the hearing. That also feels a little inconsistent to me. And I wonder if this is some face saving for folks who were very invested in the hearing, as we were here on the show, who didn't feel like it was enough new material.
It was not. It was a lot of the same material, and it was a lot of, we know people who know things, but we can't say who they are because their jobs would be in jeopardy, or even their physical safety. There was some. It's been, I think one of the witnesses, it might have been, I think it was Grush, testified that people have been harmed in the course of covering up the evidence of UFOs. That was said. So people fearing not just for their jobs, but for their lives. But what I want to know, it's a little bit like the pressure campaign from the federal government on speech, on social media, COVID speech, Hunter Biden stuff, et cetera. Like, okay, well, then who is the person who calls you or emails you and says, we, the Pentagon, or we, the NASA, don't want you to testify? Who is that person? That person isn't entitled to secrecy. I want them known. I want to know who is doing the silencing.
Yes.
Who is getting in the way of getting this real information? Let's out them.
Yes.
If we can't out you.
But I know that makes that person look a bit sketchy, but at the same time, if they give you that name and they know, they gonna know who gave them up. So that puts that person in jeopardy still, right? Like, you're wanting this person this person could potentially have a family, loved ones they're trying to take care of. We just can't dismiss that and say that that's not what's going on here. Now, very well, there's a flip side to the coin. That person could be sketchy, could be all a hoax, a lie, and them now wanting to save face. Cool, we understand that too, but it's also that flip side that they could be telling the truth. And if it is, we have a huge problem if somebody's running around here witness intimidation, doing that to people. Like, are you serious? No.
You, the person who has the information, let's out the person who's silencing you. Can we do that?
Yes.
Can we do that discreetly in a way that doesn't reflect back on you? Can we do that?
Yes.
Let's know who's in that position, who's the czar of silence.
And if someone has been physically injured as a consequence,
that was the allegation that was made.
Who did the injuring?
Yeah.
What organization? What department?
First, I thought they meant
authorized
the
that?
aliens did the injuring, but I think it's the government now.
I mean, if it's the aliens that are doing the injuring, then certainly out them, because they are owed no protection in
We
the
need
context
to
of our
bring a
legal
workplace,
system.
an OSHA-related lawsuit for the government employees injured by. Right. Were you injured by aliens in the course of your duties? You may be entitled to compensation.
Okay. But look, Robbie, I was out last week, so I missed the coverage of the hearing itself, but I was following it somewhat online, and there did seem to be mixed reviews. Some people who thought, these are actors that we've heard from I don't mean actor, but human people, participants in this discourse who we've heard from at length over the course of the last decade or so, and not much new has come out. And others that felt like there was something that was very compelling about having the evidence come out in this formal way in the context of a congressional hearing. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of what we've already heard, and a lot of now Grush and others said they would give information that they have not given if a SCIF, a secure room, can be set up. That's a room where there's no cameras or phones, it's not recorded, so that they can legally give the sensitive information they have. There's some talk of making that happen. That all sounds great, but the problem with that is then it'll be shielded from public view. Then it'll be on people like Tim Burchett and others to use that information, to get that information and then use that to further this investigation. And I feel like without the public's knowledge and then the subsequent public, the pressure that comes from the public when we're in the loop, there will just be Tim Burchett and co will be hitting roadblocks.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be hitting this wall of silence everywhere they turn.
Yeah.
See, I feel like this is what the Pentagon knew. This is why they're not flinching. They knew it would be very, very hard to prove that they're keeping anything from them. And I always said, the amount of time it's taking for us to get to that point to where we could point and call names, all of the evidence and different things that we have, just like Area 51. I say the same thing about them all the time. When it became known about what Area 51 was about and what they were possibly and potentially doing there, now when you go there, that stuff is moved. By the time it makes it to the public, that stuff is moved. It's no longer there. We find something, we'll be getting lucky. And I feel like it's the same in this situation. We pointing fingers, but man, a lot of that stuff that we're hoping that we can say, hey man, they got this there, that stuff's gone. It's moved.
I have, again, I have this kind of like logical side of my brain that is raising red flags in the same way that it's kind of raising these red flags as we get consecutive rounds of inquiry into even the Biden crime family without a smoking gun. If there is information that has not been investigated, then I don't care if there's not a smoking gun. Obviously, if you're keeping me from finding the smoking gun, you should continue doing investigations. But if the investigations have gone forward and there still doesn't seem to be a there, at a certain point it loses steam. And here, again, if the people with the knowledge are both saying how important it is for this stuff to come out and also ultimately unwilling to say publicly what needs to be said to light a fire under the agencies that have knowledge of this.
What are the protections that need to take place, be put into law, be put into, to allow the people who are unwilling to come forward, the three potential witnesses who didn't speak, what assurances do they need that they'll be okay to speak? That's what needs.
That's the question that needs to be asked. Thank you. What do they need? What can we do? How can we protect them? That's the question.
To get worked out? Is it, again, for job security, you'll be a very wealthy and successful and famous person if you're the person who actually delivers the evidence of the aliens.
Absolutely.
First of all, now if you fear for your life, okay, what kind of security can you get? What kind of arrangements can be made? Those are the conversations that need to happen.
Any?
Also, is the anonymity helping you? If there's a sort of protection that comes with coming out publicly in a mass, what are they do? Kill all of you? At a certain point, that is its own red flag, right? And I don't want to take that too far because there was a time in American history where they really did kill everybody. I mean, you had this mass assassinations, whether it's the Kennedys, MLK, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. You did have assassinations.
So why would you even make that statement and say, oh, they can't get everybody? Huh?
Become very, very common as movement leaders were having successes in changing the terrain of American politics and the social contract. So, I don't want to be cavalier with somebody else's life. But again, if you were at a point where you were about to testify, that means somebody knows who you were, their testimony that has been written out, practice sessions that have been done, phone call records to you between you and the senators who are going to, the representatives that were going to interrogate you. And the evidence is there. You are known. So you're known to everyone who can basically cause you harm, but not to the broader public who would defend you and then look very skeptically if anything were to happen to you. So what is going on here?
Yeah.
And I'd be remiss not to bring up that there have been some who've said that the timing of this investigation and this public interest into aliens at this juncture is suspicious in terms of what it might be covering up, what the other news stories that they don't want us to be talking about. And I did see a number of people pointing to the fact that all of the campaign finance charges against Sam Bankman-Fried were dropped on the same day that this UFO news was all coming out on the internet. And is there a bipartisan vested interest in letting a huge Republican and Democratic donor like Sam Bankman-Fried, remember he donated unprecedented amounts, or just, singularly high amounts, I should say, to the Democratic Party.
They've dropped some of the charges. They've not dropped all of the charges.
No, the campaign finance charges.
And all of that may be true. That may be why Congress agreed to hear this and have this UFO hearing. That may be true. But you're calling into question these three guys, these highly decorated gentlemen, and saying that's what their intentions was? You think that's their intention? They put their credibility on the line? You think that's what it is? I would hope not.
But these are the charges that implicate the donors, right? These are the charges that implicate the party apparatus. So Sam Bankman-Fried gave to the Democrats. His number two at the company gave similar amounts to the Republicans. This is someone who is doing pay for play, allegedly, at the highest echelons. And now you're having the political apparatus basically say, we're not going to charge you we're not going to investigate the campaign finance pay-for-play allegations, even if you still are going to be on the hook for the financial crimes.
This is fine. There's a little bit of horseshoe theory here because you're saying this from a leftist perspective, and I actually see some conservatives, some right-leaning people say this is where we were starting to win the culture where we punish Bud Light. Now they're injecting the aliens discourse to distract us from our successful cultural victories. I don't think that's what's going on. We're talking about aliens because News Nation did that interview with David Grush that went really viral. I mean, you and I are choosing to talk about it regularly, not because we're getting any kind of marching orders from anyone, but because there's clear audience interest in it. So that's I think the people want this. I think that's why.
I think that the interest can be sincere, but I think there's always been public interest in things like aliens. I'm a sci-fi nerd. You love, fantasy. There's always an interest. But the question is, why is the corporate media suddenly taking an interest in something that has been indifferent to for all of this time? And is the timing of that convenient? Even if there isn't there, are they still using something that's legitimately perhaps a news story? Maybe there are aliens, and at the same time, it can serve as a distraction against other kinds of news stories. Not here, though. We will continue to bring you all of the important news on a daily basis.
Yes.
For the past 24 hours, Peru has been trending on social media. And this is because residents in Peru are allegedly encountering 7-foot-tall entities. In a rural area called Alto Nanay, located in the northeastern part of Lima, Peru, residents who've lived in the area for several decades claim to be experiencing constant encounters with 7-foot-tall entities.
Have y'all been seeing this? I've saw it a couple of times. That's what made me go in search of a video for it and happen to come across this. But in between what was going on with Hawaii and the presidential stuff, this kind of snuck in there, and I was like, what is going 7-foot entities? Okay, like, what's going on here?
These mysterious beings are said to have armored bodies and distinct features, such as large heads and yellow eyes. The villagers report that these creatures have been consistently attacking their community during the night since July 11th. The community is currently experiencing a state of fear and unease, primarily caused by a distressing incident involving a woman. According to reports, she was approached from behind and suffered a laceration to her neck after resisting the attacker. This unsettling event has left community members apprehensive, making it difficult for them to find solace and rest peacefully as they constantly feel threatened. Oddly enough, footage was released of the incident, and those who saw it said they could make out a humanoid-like entity, while others noted that the creature appeared to be more bug-like.
Put the light. I'm saying, like, put the light back. Somebody put the light back, or whatever we was seeing. I hear the dogs barking, like, something going on.
The Iquitu indigenous people have made accusations regarding advanced beings who they claim are impervious to their traditional hunting tools. These individuals are calling for assistance from the Peruvian military to ensure their safety against these interstellar trespassers. According to their accounts, the creatures don protective suits and possess an extraordinary ability to float, using spherical footwear illuminated by a red light. According to community leader Jairo Riatagui Avila, he described the individuals as beings from another planet. They seemed to be wearing armor. Jairo even attempted to fire at one of them twice, but they remained unharmed and eventually vanished. This extraordinary occurrence has caused great fear and concern within the community. Locals who live in the area have been told to take protective measures against the entities, while military officials have said that they are investigating the incident. The advanced beings have been compared to pelacaras by certain villagers, who perceive them as peculiar creatures that supposedly consume locals. The authorities have conducted a visit to the vicinity and explored the outskirts of the village, which includes the site where the woman was attacked. Nonetheless, it remains uncertain whether any substantiating evidence was discovered to validate the assertions made by the villagers, or whether the government intends to dispatch military personnel to the area for an extended duration. Interestingly, Peru has a rich history of mysterious sightings and encounters. Perched in the western region of South America,
I'm starting to realize
Peru boasts a rich tapestry of...
My bad, I thought I hit it, but I'm starting to realize that about Peru. Like, a lot of things I've been coming across and hearing about starting to line up with what they're saying.
Perched in the western region of South America, Peru boasts a rich tapestry of history, culture, and natural wonders. Yet, amid the majestic Andean mountains and ancient archaeological sites, a different kind of enigma haunts the Peruvian skies. Peru has been a hotbed of activity for decades, with numerous reports of unidentified objects in its airspace. The fascination with unidentified objects is not new to Peru. In fact, some enthusiasts argue that evidence of sightings can be found in ancient Peruvian art and artifacts. Certain pottery and textiles from pre-Columbian cultures depict figures with peculiar headgear and elongated shapes, which some interpret as evidence of contact or advanced technology. Over the years, Peru has witnessed numerous sightings.
And that's some of the stuff we found in a lot of those videos we went through and looked at with ancient civilizations, the elongated skulls and different things like that. See how stuff comes full circle? We stay connecting the dots, baby.
Reported by civilians, pilots, and even government officials. In 1952, a prominent sighting occurred in Arequipa, when multiple witnesses reported seeing a disc-shaped object flying at high speeds in the sky. Similarly, in 1980, a Peruvian Air Force pilot reported encountering an unidentified object while on a training mission. These are just a few examples of the many sightings that have been documented over the years. Some have speculated that these objects have a connection to the mysterious Nazca Lines. The enigmatic Nazca Lines, a series of ancient geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, have also fueled speculation about advanced involvement. Some theorists propose that the precision and scale of the Nazca Lines could only have been achieved with the assistance of advanced technology, possibly of advanced origin. As with most sightings, possible explanations for the sightings in Peru vary. Skeptics often attribute the sightings to natural phenomena, such as meteors, weather balloons, or aircraft misidentifications. However, some researchers argue that the patterns and characteristics of the sightings suggest more than mundane explanations.
I think this year alone has been the most I've heard about weather balloons. Anybody else find that interesting? Anyone? This is the first year that now everything is, a potential weather balloon or what, that's just starting to blow my mind, but I'm paying attention to it so much so now. It's just insane. I never really heard about people talking about that.
The presence of military installations in certain areas has also led to theories about experimental aircraft and top-secret technology. Sightings in Peru carry cultural and historical significance beyond the realm of popular belief. The association between unidentified objects and ancient civilizations, such as the Nazca Lines, sparks debates about the origins and achievements of these cultures. The incorporation of lore into Peruvian mythology and folklore reflects the enduring fascination with the unknown and the supernatural. Peru's sightings have had an unexpected impact on tourism. Certain areas known for activity, such as the Nazca Lines, attract enthusiasts from around the world. Tours and events centered around these unidentified sightings have become a niche part of the tourism industry in Peru. The Peruvian government has also taken an interest in these sightings, particularly those that occur in or near military installations. The Peruvian Air Force has an office dedicated to investigating reports, known as the Department of Investigations of Anomalous Aerial Phenomena. While most sightings are likely attributed to natural or man-made phenomena, the Department of Investigations of Anomalous Aerial Phenomena aims to collect data and investigate the more unexplained cases. Peru's rich history and mystical landscapes have inspired a curiosity about the possibility of advanced civilizations. The allure of these sightings invites a quest for answers about our place in the cosmos and the mysteries that may lie beyond our current understanding.